Well, it's been a long time since I did an old war story, and I got a whole ton of them. In fact, it's been so long since I last created an old war stories video that the last I did, the YouTube video editor was still in full effect. I've tried my very best to recreate the title screen to give the feeling of what it used to be with the YouTube video editor, and that's about the best I can come up with. I wanted to keep everything the same, and I was able to put down the time to create that, so I hope you will enjoy. So I've been making a list, and I decided that it was high time. It's 85 degrees out. You hear the AC buzzing in the background, so let's get right into it. This one is called Scary Elevators. Now, they're not scary per se by what I would consider scary in, today as an adult. But when I was a kid, figure, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years old, something like that. And there's 3 separate stories here. So basically we'll start off with this resort that we used to go to back in the day in the 80s. Kind of an interesting story in and of itself. We used to go up there. The place was called Kutcher's in upstate New York. And it was in what was called the Borscht Belt. And you found all the old school comedians up there. Buddy Hackett, Rodney Dangerfield, I'm sure, was there many a time. And Andy Kaufman, I think, was. And a host of others. You could Wikipedia Borscht Belt and find out more about that. But there was this resort called Kutcher's. Place was out of the 70s. Like, they redid it in the 70s, and they never updated it since. They had this green carpet with these like blue circles in it, and it was just fucking hideous, even by 1980s standards. Anyways, there were separate rooms. First of all, we used to go up there in the winter around Martin Luther King Day. My dad had his 77 Dodge Aspen, and in order to pack all of the luggage and the way the car was and that, the spare tire mounted in the back of the trunk, like up, it like mounted up in the trunk to like on a bracket or something, and that didn't allow enough room for the suitcases and all the other shit we had to lug around. So he used to take the spare tire off, tie a rope to that, and hang it, not really hang it, but sort of hang it off of the headrest in the front. And I would sit on the driver's side in the back of the car because I was a little kid, and I would kind of be squished in there, and then we'd take a 3-4 hour ride up there, whatever it was, from where we were. Anyways, we did this for years, and they had this little like camp thing for the kiddies and that, but that's neither here nor there. Oh, Morris Katz was another one that was there, and I actually watched him live. I don't even know if he's still alive anymore. He was a painter, or is a painter if he's still alive. And his claim to fame was using toilet paper to paint, plus these metal, I don't know what you call them. They look like putty knives or something. Anyway, my parents, he had a raffle where you'd put $1 in and write your name on it or something, and they ended up winning the painting that he did, and that's hanging, or at least it was hanging in their living room. They still have it, whatever it is, but it's a Morris Katz original, probably never going to be worth anything. Anyhow, the elevators. So like I said, I was like 8, 9, 10 years old, and here we are at Kutcher's. There were 3 different types of rooms you could get. You could get the tower room, I think, which was like the most luxurious. Then you could get the Rip Van Winkle rooms, which were in like a separate building off to the side or something, and they weren't as nicely appointed. And then you could get like the basic one, I forget what it was even called back in the day. We always got the luxury ones. God only knew my dad actually splurged. We used to go with these people from Jersey who were friends of my parents, and they would get the Rip Van Winkle rooms, oddly enough. They had like orange, brownish shag rugs in there and shit. Yeah, it was totally out of the 70s. Anyways, like I said, it's a hot one, so. In this tower thing, which I guess was the center building, there were elevators. you go to the front desk, and then there was one elevator. You kind of went up like maybe 5 steps or something, and there was one elevator there, and a whole hallway full of rooms, and then of course the floors went up, and there were stairs next to it, and that elevator was fine. It had the I'm going to be talking about the doors and how this like fucked with me. These had, depending on the floor I think you were on, the doors changed, which was odd. It was the ones where they part in the center like that, and then, you know, they shut like that. There are the other type of doors, which I think was like on a different floor, or maybe I'm misconstruing this because it's so many years ago, over 30 years ago, where you have like the one door and there's like another one behind it, and they sort of like fold in and then come back and close up, you know, next to each other like that. They sort of fold behind each other like that. Whatever it was, that elevator was perfectly fine. Occasionally, we would be down at the other end of the building, and there was an elevator there. That elevator was old, probably from when the building was built. I don't know, 1960s? I don't really remember. Anyhow, that might have been a freight elevator, I'm not sure, and it may not have gone to all of the floors, but yet you could use it, and it was this big elevator car, really big, where they could like move beds and shit. So I think it was like the freight elevator, but we had taken that a few times, and that elevator was scary. I don't remember exactly what it was, but like you would get in and it would start going, and it was like herky-jerky as it went, you know, and it was like scary at that, and then it had that like where it gets to the floor and it would overshoot the floor, and then you would go slowly down, and then when it just hit that, the car would go into a free fall for like an inch, and you go bounce, you know, and it was always like, fucking, are we gonna get stuck in this thing? Holy shit, oh my god. And that was pretty fucking scary for whatever reason. So, I've had dreams about that. Recently, within the last like 5 years that I remember, I've actually had dreams about how scary that elevator was. It was really, really weird. So that was Kutcher's. Now, there's another place in the Borscht Belt, which I'm going to get back to in a minute. But somewhere, I guess I was around 10 years old or so, my dad still had the 77 Dodge Aspen, and we had gone to my, now it's sort of family, but sort of not really. Hard to explain. Long and short of it was my grandfather got married. His wife died at like 44. He got remarried to somebody else. They were married for like 3 months, got divorced, didn't work out. And then he married this other lady, Sheila. And Sheila was my grandmother, but it was a third wife, so it wasn't really a grandmother, like a blood grandmother or anything like that. So we called her Aunt Sheila. Whatever. Sheila had a daughter whose name was Haley. And I always thought that was great because, you know, Halley's Comet, however you pronounce it, whatever. And it was like, oh, it's hers, you know? It was cool when you're a little kid and whatever. And she ended up turning out to be a lesbian. Odd. And this was odd when you were like 10, 12 years old and finding this out, to find out that this is it. And then she got hooked in with this other lady, Karen, I think her name was, and they wanted a kid, so they got a Mr. Donor. And Karen carried the baby, and that was that. And I haven't heard from these people in many, many years since my grandfather died, and the whole family kind of broke up, moved away, and shit like. Anyways, Haley was in this apartment, and she was moving, or going to be moving soon. I don't remember where it was. It was a bit of a ride. I remember that. Staten Island, maybe. I don't know. Had all of these board games, as well as a few pieces of furniture. Old board games from the 60s, like when she was a kid. Trouble, Cross Over the Bridge, Pass Out, Password, just four I could think of off the top of my head. So I have at my dad's house Monopoly, all these old like 1960s editions. They're probably missing pieces and all kinds of great shit, so I'm sure they're not worth anything, but neither here nor there. It was suggested that maybe my dad would want to get these for my sister and I for us to play, and we did. We got them, we drove out there, and I remember driving back and my dad said, watch the odometer, it's going to turn over to all zeros again, because they didn't put the provisions for 100,000, it just went to 99,999, and then it would roll back to zero. So we actually watched that, and he ended up getting rid of that car with over 150 on it, and not because it didn't run. It ran great because it was a slant six. It would fucking run forever. He'd probably still be driving it today. But the frame rotted out because of New York winters and salt and driving into Manhattan every day and around Manhattan every day and potholes in New York and salt and things. And that was a whole nother story entirely, which maybe will be another old war story. Kind of more like my dad's old war story, but anyways, I have some documentation from that car. That's neither here nor there. Haley's building had a scary elevator. It had the kind where it looks like a regular door, like you would have a door to your bedroom or a door to your bathroom that has a knob. You would turn and open it. And the fucking diamond-shaped window in it. Fucking scary as hell when you're like that age, because as the car comes down, it had the diamond-shaped thing, but it just had like the little holes with the clear plastic, maybe, or maybe a sheet of glass in there, I don't know. And you could see the light, and you'd see the car like come into position through that oh, it was fucking scary. And it had like a doorbell button kind of thing you would press to call the car, and then it would finally get there. And then it was weird. You'd open the door, you'd get in, and then you'd hit, ground floor. And then inside the car, there would be a door that would go, and that had the diamond thing with the little roundy things in it like that. And I said, whoa, this is scary to have. Why does the elevator just have, I wasn't familiar with this. It just had a door that you open. I said to my dad, what happens if the elevator isn't there and you go to open the door? Oh, the door locks. And he showed me, yes, it's locked. You can't open it. I said, but what if it doesn't lock? There's switches and interlocks and all kinds of shit like that and whatever. And it was, I guess, reliable. But the elevator was rickety, as you might expect. And it did some weird stuff, occasionally, not always. And it actually happened once while we were going to be going down. We call the car, it comes. We open the door. I think my dad is carrying a whole bunch of board games and shit like that. Hit G, kids. So we hit G. And the door starts closing. And it hits the stop and reopens. That's weird. Kicks the door back open. Lets it close. Hit G again. And then it would like do that, and and then it would also fuck up the other way, where okay, you get to the floor you want, now you're on the ground floor, the door would open and then immediately close again. So my dad had all these games and he just like jammed it against that, so the door would bounce off of it, and it had sensors for that, and it returned, and it was just scary. And there was another floor. I don't remember why we stopped on the second floor or something, or maybe Haley was playing with us or some shit like that. I don't remember. Whatever it was. And the door that you would open on that floor would stick. So you'd go to pull it, and even though the car was there and you're fully allowed to open it, it would stick, and you'd have to like really yank on it or kick it. And there was a guy in the elevator coming out, and he had to kick the door to get it open. So that was fucking scary. Which then brings me to the other resort that we went to called the Concord. I think all of these places have since closed, but you may be able to look them up if you're interested. The Concord was similar in many ways to Kutcher's. Not too much to say about it. The counselors were cooler. They had a lounge that we could get sodas in. Obviously, the adults would get drinks and whatever, and that was kind of cool. They had arcades, 1980s arcades, the real deal Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, Pole Position, pinball machines, the nines, everything you would imagine, and we could go in there. Now, of course, I never got any quarters as a kid. But the people that we went to from New Jersey who would get the Rip Van Winkle room in the other place, their kid got quarters because his parents weren't cheap. And we would watch him play, and that was our entertainment because it was free. So I missed out for a couple of dollars, $5 as a kid. I had to miss out on all this shit, and never play these games, get good at them, get my name in the high scores, which was something you'd always dream of and stuff, for $5 for kids for an evening. How you can't go to fucking McDonald's for $5, and the games were a fucking quarter then. You stick a quarter in, you play. That was it. There was none of this 50 cents, none of these Dave and Buster's fucking cards that you load up with a goddamn credit card on a kiosk and scan a QR code on your fucking phone to make the shit work, and Apple Pay and this bullshit. They were a fucking quarter a play. And it was that simple. And for $5, we couldn't fucking do... Even if he split the fucking $5 between me and my sister. Oh, no. I digress. Concord had the elevator with the door that you open and the diamond fucking window. And I had learned from experience that kind of elevator is fucking scary. And that was in Haley's building, and that elevator was fucking scary. Oh, and Haley told us, I keep forgetting, Haley told us stories about how she had gotten stuck in the elevator before and had to hit the alarm thing. And the bells, it's ringing and shit like that. And they had to, get the fucking fire department to fucking get her out of there. And it was... that's great for an 8-year-old kid. That won't scare the shit out of him at all. I don't blame Haley. She was cool. But anyways, so I'm deathly fucking afraid of these fucking door elevators with the diamond window. Deathly fucking afraid of that. Okay. We're there, and we're in the little kiddie camp thing. And like I said, the counselors were kind of cool in that. And I said to the guy, I was like, and my sister and I both actually, were like, okay, kids, we're getting in the elevator, and I guess we're going to have to do this in batches because there were so many of us or something. Like, we have to take 2 cars. We were only going down a floor, but we told the counselor, he said, we're not getting in that. And he's like, why? What do you mean? We're going to get stuck. No, you won't. It works. Look, people just got out of it. They came from the floor below. It's fine. No, we're way too scared. Johnny, take the kids, and I'll take them down the stairs. And they got in the elevator, and the guy took my sister and I down the stairs, and we actually made it before the elevator did. The elevator scared the crap out of me. And these elevators are still in service. There was actually a little side story that... Now that I was a lot more grown up, I was, I don't know, 20, 19, something, and I got a call from the Jewish side of the family. Uncle Saul has a computer. What the fuck does Uncle Saul have with a computer? He's 86 years old. It was Stevie's. He got it secondhand. Okay. They want you to get it. Why? Here, talk. So they put me on the phone. Yeah, Stevie, he got it. I don't know what it is. It's a computer. Come and get it here. What do we need you to do? We need you to sell it and then give us the money for it. Huh? You want me? I gotta drive all the fucking way into Brooklyn. That's 30 some odd fucking miles. Pick this shit up that I don't even know what I'm getting. and drive back home and then sell it so I can give you money for it? What about my time and gas getting to Brooklyn and back? Anyway, I didn't end up selling it. It was a compact Desk Pro, Pentium 2, 333, 366 megahertz, something like that. Still have the machine, and it was a great running machine. I actually put XP on it, and there were plans to actually put it in the garage years ago. It just never happened. It's down in the stacks in the basement, and I'll get to it one day if it ever works again. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I had to go to Brooklyn and pick this thing up, and we're in this building, a fucking like a brownstone kind of thing in Brooklyn. And it wasn't a walk-up variety. It was, they had an elevator, but it may have been put in later, I don't know. And it had this scary elevator. I was like 19, 20 years old, something like that. And I wasn't really as scared of said elevators anymore, because as a little kid, you know, and then Haley scared the shit out of you and be getting stuck in it, and oh boy. So I wasn't really scared, but this thing was like out of the 1930s. It was painted in the 1930s, and there's graffiti, and there's names scratched in the fucking paint, and there's like this circline fluorescent light, and a fan that's rattly, and it smelled like old machinery. And here's Saul at 86. Oh, you know what we'll do? We'll go. I think he had a cane. We'll go down to the basement. We'll walk down to. We'll walk out from the basement. It's easier that way. I didn't have a cart, anything. I just had to carry this shit. And I did, and it was fucking freaky getting in such an elevator as such. Again, but I don't really have elevators I have to deal with much in my life now. Not really afraid of them either. I've grown sort of an interesting liking to them, especially the oddball ones and the ornately styled ones and things like that. But yeah, scary elevators as a kid. So anyway, that was the story of the scary elevators in different places. And hopefully I won't have nightmares about that Cutcher's Freight elevator again, because that was fucking scary, because you like relived that shit 30 years later. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Make sure you click like, make sure you click subscribe, and take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.